Good morning. Hello and welcome to everybody. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar, and I hope you're going to enjoy our time together. So we're going to be talking about navigating entrepreneurial chaos, the journey to financial clarity. This will be an interesting session today. Ever felt like your business is drowning in complexity and chaos? Well, you're not alone. Really pleased you could join us for this chat with Retha van Rooyen, founder and CEO of My Student House. Welcome, Retha. And CFO Rochell Serdyn, who's a portfolio CFO from the CFO Centre, South Africa. So welcome to you both. Retha will share her real-life journey from excited entrepreneur to becoming overwhelmed and grappling with some key issues: sprawling complexity, managing 50 companies as a director, facing a tax terror and a nightmare situation with SARS, and then fear of failure, feeling lost and unsure how to navigate her way forward. And then we'll discover how Rochell, with her no-nonsense approach, helped Retha untangle the web, simplify the business structure and regain control, conquer her fear, develop a plan to address the burning tax issue, and then cut through the noise and make those tough decisions, close some underperforming businesses and focus on what really matters. So that's some of what we'll cover today. Before we dive into our conversation, please, if you have any questions, you can pop those in the chat box almost as they come into your head. So you don't have to wait till the end. We'll be talking for about 40 minutes, and then following that, we'll have about 10 minutes for questions. So please put them in the chat box, and then I'll pick those up, and we'll try and answer as many as we can at that time. So right, without further ado, let's jump right in. So Retha, first question for you. Please share a little bit about the origin of My Student House. I know it's a scale-up, it's doing really well. But where did you realize that the complexity of your business was becoming a burden and your need for financial expertise?
Hi, Rowan, it's a hectic story. So I started in 2017 with property. Before that, I worked for a company, a management consulting company, for about 21 years, just as a normal employee. And then I decided to do the crazy thing and to become an entrepreneur. So what the business was about back then was really just looking at property, buying units, flats, room rentals, that sort of thing. And then I then just decided to leave my company and do this full time. And I moved the whole family down to Cape Town. Of course, when I got to Cape Town, it was a bit of a, rental, the same type of model doesn't really work in Cape Town. So I had to try and find a different way of doing things. And while I was looking for a property the one day, I saw that by accident, it's actually quite close to a university, and that's how the whole student thing started. But in the few years before I got to that point, we did a lot of deals with a lot of other investors, people wanting to get into property and so on. And we ended up creating a lot of businesses. It's very easy and very cheap, okay, to go into CIPC and create yourself a business. But once it's there, it's kind of, I think because I didn't have experience in this thing, I didn't realize the chaos I was creating at the time. So then with the student business, that was really great. But I started it, and the first year of operations was 2020. And then I remember the 27th of March, there goes my business, because all the students are going home. And it's like, flip, am I still going to get paid? I've made this huge investment. What now? And it was such a hectic, interesting year. I actually wrote a book about that, and how I ended up getting through that year and how to do student accommodation. But anyway, so in that first year, I had about 100 students in the first little bit of the year. And then right now, which is what, 4 years later, we now have 1,500 students. And what we do is really we're a rental agency. So I do own some properties as well, but I started off managing for our properties, then for other investors that were with us, and then eventually we just opened up to everybody because there's such a huge need for this type of service in the student accommodation market. But now, in what the problem that we then also faced, where all of this bigger chaos came from, was that in 2020, obviously, a lot happened and tenants stopped paying, and we ended up with two business legs, basically. On the one side, we had the normal property business, which was normal tenant rentals, and nobody was paying. And it took them much, much longer, really, to that portion to recover, although, our business didn't, and that was a big problem. On the other side, I was sitting with the student business, which over the years have just exploded. And it needed so much of my time, my attention, doing things differently on a completely a different way that I needed to do to kind of manage that and keep it going and growing. And that's a whole different challenge now because we were like doubling up every single year. We still are. We already kind of set for that for next year already as well. So that by itself is very crazy. But then on the other side, the business wasn't doing well. And I had a few business partners and so on that at the end of 2022, they called it quits. They said they're done, they can't continue. The business couldn't sustain them going forward anyway. So here I was all by myself. I needed to close down that part of the business, but also managing this growing monster really that was the student space. And then with student accommodation also, it's very, very different. It's, when you have to go and get your rental, it's not like normal tenants where, there's certain processes and procedures and it's very standard and it's legislated. On the student side, you're fighting with institutions for your money, okay, with the government in some cases, with these NSFAS bursaries and so on. And that's what I had to do, and I had to learn how to do it very quickly. And I remember the one year I was like, no, we need to get money in. This company is gonna drown before it or dry up before it even started properly. And I was literally camping at the university, and I was sitting there, and I was like, I don't care if this woman doesn't want to see me. There's only one door out of this building, and I will sit here until she walks past me, and I will get my money. I need to get my money. So it was really all the way from being there, just first year, just me and two employees, and we had to make this thing work. And now between all of these two very different challenges, on the one hand, we had to close a business, liquidate. On the other side, we were growing. And that's when I was like, I can't do this by myself anymore. And I started looking for someone with proper expertise that could get me up to date, because at that stage I realized, no, SARS doesn't care about my problems. They want their money, they want their reporting, and I was just not getting to any of it, and I didn't know how to do it properly, how to even get to that point. And that's when I met Rochell.
Good. That's a nice story. Thanks for sharing that background. So Rochell, I'm going to move to you. There are some common pitfalls that financial pitfalls that entrepreneurs like Retha encounter on the journey. What were your priorities and the priorities you needed to address when you came to My Student House?
When clients join the CFO Centre and we start working with them, they really do feel the pain. Everything is in a bit of a mess and they don't know how to turn and where to turn to. So what I always like to do is try and find a few quick wins for them and also understand where is it hurting the most and relieve that pain point first. So as luck would have its way, on the very first day with Retha, we had draft financials on the table that she was about to sign. And a quick look at it, showed me we're going to pay a substantial amount of tax. Now her cash flow was under pressure. Zooming in on debtors, we realized there's lots of old debt there. And as you can imagine, if the students had finished their year and moved out, it becomes increasingly difficult to recover that bad debt. Even more so when you can't reach them. So we did an analysis, and a portion of it we've allocated to bad debt. The other item was deposits. Now that is the amount of money that needs to be paid back to the students after the year. Somehow there was an oversight on the bookkeeping from the accountants and the auditors, and they've allocated that to income, turnover. So just the correction on those two items made the tax calculation look completely different. That was a nice win on day one. Some of the other topics that loomed up as I got to know Retha and her business a little bit better, some of the pain points. So her accountants, auditors were situated in Johannesburg. The proximity and the availability was a real issue. She couldn't get accurate, timely financial information because she wasn't their only client. And when we started asking if we can see management accounts or any financial information, and that was at round about end of May, we realized they couldn't give us anything because there was not anything. They haven't processed anything since beginning of January. Now, can you imagine what a scary place is that for an entrepreneur? She just had a bank account to look at, and you didn't know in the money in the bank account, was that my commission? Was it money that I still need to pay out to landlords? My heart really went out for her. One of the other items that we realized needed attention is she didn't have any bookkeeper or financial manager. She didn't have that player in a team. And that was really a key piece that would strengthen her position. What Retha's alluded to already, we had numerous companies. A lot of them were actually insolvent, and it needed to go into liquidation. Now, she was at that stage receiving lawyers' letters from disgruntled investors that didn't want to move over to the new leg. There were some creditors outstanding. The business was operational on some of the entities. That's a really hard thing for an entrepreneur to do as well. It's like your baby, and you don't want to see that it's not succeeding. Some of the other pain points were all these multiple entities where financial information, financial statements weren't kept up to date, income taxes weren't submitted. It was just a plethora of governance and things that had been lacking behind. I realized straight away, we need to get rhythms, systems, and accurate financial information. That's the first things we need to do in order to move the ship in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Rochell. Some really interesting insights there. Retha, back to you. So if you had to describe the value that Rochell has added to your business and the peace of mind that you've had since working with her, maybe you could just share a bit about that, and then the relationship that's kind of built and forged between the two of you.
I like to work with people that do things that I don't like to do. Okay, so Rochell is definitely the person that keeps me accountable because I've got so many things happening, so many dramas to deal with in the student space. But I know that when she's with me, that is me switched off for the day. Sorry, and everybody knows it. Now it's time to focus on the accounting things because it's not something that you like to do as an entrepreneur. There's so many other things that you'd rather be doing. So definitely her being there, holding me accountable to information and things that I needed to do on the financial side. So that definitely. And supporting me and explaining a lot of the concepts that I always thought I knew, but clearly I didn't know certain things, and I was doing a lot of things wrong. So that helped. That really helped a lot. And then also introducing me to. I always say that like when your head is in the scrum, you can't read the game, and that's literally where I was. So it's very nice to have somebody that can come from the outside and see things that you haven't noticed because you're so busy with just dealing with the day-to-day things that you can't really see the future and the things that whatever you're going to change, how it will end up at the end of the day. And then, of course, you know, if you know something is going, it's going, there's issues with a company that you need to close down. How do you even go about that? I've never done that. How's it going to affect me? Do I liquidate? What does that mean? How, I don't even know where to start, how to get there. And that is then also where she introduced me to someone that's an expert in that could then help and guide me and just give me some comfort on what's going to happen and what needs to be done and all the different options, because that's not the only option. There's a few options that we could then talk through, and you know, and that just helped a lot to kind of put that issue into a little box and being able to give it to someone else then to kind of continue with. And then I think also we then went to a women's event, which was the fun part. Okay, that's what I like to do. And that was in Women's Day last year. And there I also met a whole lot of other acquaintances and people from Rochell's network. And now I have lots of people that I always, if only I had these guys, right, from the beginning, a lot of things I would have done differently, like a corporate attorney. She knows everything about MOIs and shareholders agreements and stuff like that, that I also thought I knew. But yeah, she's taught me a good few things. And I think if I had that from the beginning, I wouldn't have been in this position on a lot of things as well. So being able to tap into that network and really get good people, good skills, and the type of support that I needed, that for me was definitely one of the key things that I've gained through this relationship.
Thanks for sharing that. So Rochell, having worked with Retha and my student house for some time now, what issues have been addressed? And where's the business now? And how have you overcome some of these challenges?
Yes, we've alluded to some of the headaches and sleepless nights and what caused it. Retha and I both realized we needed to tackle these issues and we need to tackle them fast. So the first thing we did is, with our auditors and accounting firm, the proximity and the availability wasn't working. So we made an exit there and we found other players that could service Retha with what she needed in that field. That was one of the first things. Then on the liquidation process, we consulted with the experts. We made sure we really applied our mind and we've put that ball rolling. And, you know, it was hard things to do for the first steps. Then we've also done quite a recruitment process and a lot of interviews to find that right player for her in the team. Today, I think she has a wonderful team around her. Everyone is on the right seat in the bus, because that's also important. And they really do support Retha and help take this business forward. We were able to get the pastel backups from the previous auditors, and we did a cloud conversion for 2 years and brought all her business onto Xero. I'm quite impressed with Retha's Xero expert skills. She's quite savvy for an entrepreneur. The challenge we had, however, is, remember, we were almost half year and we had to catch up. And students come back in that almost 1 week in February. So all the activity and the action is there. So we really had our work cut out for us. And that just wasn't for one entity, it was multiple entities. Then on systems, we had quite an expensive system that Retha used for rentals. The challenge was there was a few gremlins in the system, so we weren't able anywhere last year to send out student statements. Now, that's not a good thing to be. Where we are today is statements go out to students, and it has been since they've joined universities and colleges this year. The students know exactly what's happening in their account, what fees is outstanding. They followed up with their house parents on a regular basis. That's wonderful. The landlords can see their statements. They know exactly what's been deducted, what's happening on their property. the landlord statements reconciled to the accounting system, to the payment. It is a huge improvement from last year. Then on the debtor side, we've made strides. Most of the debtors is actually NSFAS students that we've alluded to. Now, it's quite a trick to get your money from NSFAS. There's a few hoops to jump through, apart from all the documents and tick boxes that needs to be submitted before they even start paying. So this year, the drive is relentless in following up debtors, making sure the money flows in from all the students before the year runs to a close. On all the other entities, we've had a hard push to get Retha listed as the tax practitioner, public officer, getting the tax profiles over. I think where we are now, it's like climbing a mountain. When you start, you're out of breath and it's looming in front of you and it's daunting. And as you start, just putting one foot in front of the other and start climbing it, you realize it's actually doable. And if you look back and enjoy that view and see how far you've come, this is where we are now. We haven't scaled Everest, but we've definitely reached base camp. I really love working with Retha and a team. There's always some fun, some good laughs. The students are naughty and we always have a little bit of a giggle. So I go there once a week. So in a month, it's around about 4 days. We definitely want to get more and more into the strategic planning. Up until now, a lot of it has been operational and just making sure the systems and the rhythms are there, that we have accurate financial information. But now we want to scale to the next step. And if you think about it, the CFO Centre always referred to the 12 boxes. So that's where a typical CFO would work and get involved in. We have definitely touched on all of those 12 boxes. We've made sure we have the right team and expertise for where we didn't have the answer. We've consulted with the wider experts that we have at our availability, which is also a very nice benefit of working with the CFO Centre. Our distribution partners have helped Retha. I'm very excited about the journey ahead and working with Retha and her team to conquer the rest.
Thanks, Rochell. Sure. There sounds like quite a few things you've got involved in there. Retha, just shifting gears a little bit, what do you think your key differentiators are in the market, in this accommodation market? You talked a little bit about the 3 Ps, and maybe you want to share a bit about that.
Yeah, so this is where my passion comes in. So there's a thing called a triple bottom line company, and that's what we focus on and where we strive to well, we've touched on a lot of that, but we're growing in that, and that's around your people, profit, and planet. So profit, obviously, I think is self-explanatory. We all want to make money. We need to make money to grow the economy, obviously for ourselves as well. I like to go on holidays. That's, the Rochell is not allowing me to because there's lots of finances still to be done. But anyway, so that's what the profit part is obviously about. But then at the same time, the people part is very, very important in student accommodation. And the kids that we work with, the students that we work with, young people, I mustn't call them kids anymore, they come from a lot of disadvantaged backgrounds. So to be able to help them, I know that it's not just about providing a bed. You want to make them and set them up for success for when they finish and they start to enter that job market. And there's a lot of things that you as a student accommodation provider can do in that space. And that's the type of things that we've been focusing on. So for instance, it's like Rochell talks about naughty students. So they do break the house rules and then there has to be consequences. And normally what people do is they would fine them. But I don't want to take, they have so little money anyway. I don't want to take that and in my head think, I've taken food out of somebody's mouth. So but there has to be consequences. So we do community service. So for everything that if there's a rule that you broke, you have to now go and do community service. And we arrange that. And then they would go and do different types of things. We've been to Fallen Angels, which is an animal shelter where they volunteer to help clean cages and they walk the dogs and whatever else. Or they go to the beach with Save a Fishy, and they will go and help with the beach cleanup, or they'll help them in our neighborhoods. We've got like a neighborhood watch or something similar to that. And then they volunteer for that, where they do patrols, and they actually learn so much about safety and security in those cases. And so that is sort of how we then try to help where the planet part also comes in. You know, we help them with opportunities and ways to recycle. And it's stupid little things like, you know, just put your plastic in a different black bag, put it on top of the bin, and the guys that come and collect rubbish, you know, they scratch through your bin. They don't need to, because they know, okay, all the stuff I need is actually on top, and they can just go. And it's just helping someone else along the line and giving back a little bit. And because they also have a job, they have families that they need to support, and that is their way to do it. So that's all the type of things. Then also to help set them up for after, when they enter the job market, whatever they do in the community service, we give them little reference letters and certificates of achievement. And if they do, we offer them some temp jobs here and there where it makes sense, and they apply for it. We help them create their CVs to apply for it, and then you know, we give them that recommendation and reference letters then for whatever jobs they've done. And all of these little things kind of add up to give them a better chance when they leave. And I think the last thing also, which I definitely want to reach out to people as well, is that we're now going into our first initiative where we want to bring businesses and the students together, so that you can already have a connection and you can have almost like a sponsor of sorts, people that give internships or graduate recruitment programs, all of those businesses. And, you know, we're going to create networking events. Our first one is now in August, where we have networking events where they can get together and, you know, just share experiences and opportunities. And hopefully we can help our students, because we know, I mean, back home, they're supporting so many siblings, parents, grandparents, whatever, and they might be the first child to go into university with a formal education, you know. So I want to make sure that the guys that's in our properties, that we touch their lives and we help make them successful. So that is, my passion.
I can certainly hear that, and it's very inspiring, you know, to see that you're interested in the people, not just the rental accommodation. So it's a whole bigger picture and a bigger story. Thanks for sharing that. And that segues nicely into my next question, which is you just share a little bit about your vision with us, because you know, you've obviously got a vision, and has our involvement helped you, you know, maybe kind of move a little bit closer to that, and what's still holding you back?
So yeah, I want to my goal is to get to 10,000 students with us every single year. So not adding up in total, but to have 10,000 under management, if I can call it that. You know, and that means that I can help and change 10,000 students' lives every single year, which is what I want to get to. And then, of course, with that, it goes to, you know, so I went and I did a bit of research, and I'm like, okay, well, if I have 10,000 students, what would the business need to look like? How big do we need to get? How many employees? What's the turnover going to be? That sort of thing. And it kind of blew my mind, because that's like R1 billion company. And I'm like, $1 billion is a big number. So like, sure, okay, I'm not there yet. But, you know, if we continue on this trend of just doubling up every year, that's like a 5-year journey. It's not that far away. And really that is the goal. And then what's holding me back? I think that number, just thinking about it, blows my mind a little bit. So, you know, I'm at the moment, if you want to volunteer, if you have R1 billion company online, I need a coach or a mentor or somebody to get there. But anyway, so that is the that is the plan. And yeah, that's what I want to get to. That's the vision.
Exciting, very exciting. And hopefully you'll get there soon. As you say, it's not that far away. Rochell, how do you see your role in supporting Retha and My Student House going forward in getting closer to that vision? And what are some of the obstacles you see on that road ahead?
It feels if we can start seeing the wood from the trees now. There's much more clarity than a year ago on what each business is and what needs to be done. This is where strategic financial planning comes much more into play. Between all the 10 entities, we know exactly which ones are promising and growing and which are the ones that's we need to exit. It's slowing, there's not much happening, and some of it is in the liquidation process. I'm very aligned to help Retha reach that goal of 10,000 beds and the wonderful number of $1 billion turnover business. The rhythms and the routines that we've created are habits, and it's helped pushing us to that goal. Systems is another key element. It's creating the efficiency, and it's helping this business on the journey. Now, if you can imagine, there's 2 weeks in the year. In the beginning of the year, all the students move in at the same time, in literally a week. And then at the end of the year, when they move out again, almost in a week as well. So I think the key obstacle or the hurdle that we need to just get much better at is streamlining and automating much more in the processes to handle this very high intensity weeks.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. And makes sense. Retha, what advice would you give entrepreneurs who may be hesitant to seek this type of financial support from a CFO like Rochell? And looking back, how's your partnership with the CFO Centre transformed your approach to business and entrepreneurship?
You know, as an entrepreneur, and that's how I've always operated, and I think a lot of other entrepreneurs would do the same, is that you just fly, okay? You might have one wing, but you're going and you're building this plane as you go along. And a lot of times, as we're building the plane, we forget that you have to also build that landing strip. And at some point, you know, you're going to need to land. And so you need to start early in the process and start it right as well. And yes, we have to keep moving. Always, but at the same time, build your foundation strong in your business so that you have the right skills and you do your financials, which is one of the things that has to go into your solid, strong foundation. There's lots of other things as well, but I think the finances part definitely stands out in that foundation that you need to build. And if that is strong, you know that, okay, well, even if I didn't build 2 wheels to land, only one, at least I'll be able to land, and that's not going to crash the whole foundation for me. So, and also with the whole start early and start right, it's about like I say, we just started and we ran, and now there's so many gremlins in the system, and you do transactions, you're like, oh, I'll remember what that was for, but you don't. Like 3-4 years later, if you didn't do things properly from the beginning with the right tools and keeping things up to date, you forget. And now having to go back looking for documents, why did I do it like this? It's a nightmare, and it takes 3, 4, 5 times probably 10 times the more time to go and backdate these things and try and remember what you did, and the amount of time and effort on working on things I don't like to do, it's even worse. So if I just did that right, if we did it right from the beginning, I wouldn't be in this position, and it wouldn't have costed so much in time and money for me right now. So that is definitely. And then also, I mean, if you by knowing that your foundation is strong, your finances is being presented in the right way for the banks and for whatever it is that you need, you can just focus on the things that you love to do as an entrepreneur. You know, I want to be out there and I want to do marketing videos with students, and I want to be on the beach with them picking up trash. Yes, I do like doing that. I want to be with them, you know, with doing fun things, getting in more landlords, getting properties, doing amazing conversion and renovation jobs. That's what I want to do. I don't want to be worried about my finances every second day. So having that team and having Rochell in the team now, you know, she's the driver person that now cracks the whip on that, and I'm like, I have a little bit of breathing space, so I can do what I like to do. Yeah, so definitely that's what I would say.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Rochell, just looking ahead, could you discuss the role of strategy and financial planning in supporting entrepreneurs for long-term growth and scalability, and the importance of that?
Thank you, Rowan. That's such a key question. Strategic financial planning is really the backbone of any successful business, even more so for entrepreneurs who's looking for long-term growth, not just growth, long-term growth and sustainability, and that they can scale them. As a CFO for such entrepreneurs and SMEs, I've seen firsthand how really important this is, and that it must be embedded into the core of all the business processes. So a few topics stand out for me. On vision and goals, this aligns the vision of the entrepreneur with realistic, measurable goals, and it makes sure that every decision we take is aligned with those goals. The next one is resources. Now, the resources is always going to be under constraint for entrepreneurs, and we have to give much thought to this in the last year as well for my student house. You want to make sure that you're working prudently with your resources and that you allocate them to the investments that yield the highest return. Cash flow management. Oh my word, cash is king, like they always say. It's so key to plan this so you have enough for the daily operational things, but also for investing in growth opportunities. It really is the livelihood of business. Risk management. We got to be proactive and identify those risks and then come up with clever actions, how to mitigate them. And you got to think out of the box. Performance monitoring and adjustment. Here I love the analogy of a big ship that's on its way to Africa. And you're just 1 degree off course. So in the beginning of the journey, it's not even visible. But as you proceed, you actually end up in Antarctica instead of Africa. This is where regular performance management is key. You're going to keep continuously tracking those financial metrics, the KPIs, and keep making sure that the strategies work for you. And by monitoring and making those slight adjustments over time, you can make sure that you're going in the right direction. Scalability is another one. If you want to scale a business, you've got to have robust financial systems and processes in place. This will keep the financial controls there. It will create efficiency, and that financial reporting will be a key piece as well. I think, in summary, strategic financial planning is so key. I mean, it's like your roadmap, your North Star. It's keeping that ship 100% on course.
Thanks for sharing that, Rochell. Thank you. So to our final question, and then we'll take some questions from the room. So those that haven't popped their questions in, please do so. And in a couple of minutes, we'll take some questions. So to round off, Retha, for overwhelmed entrepreneurs like you were one day, some time ago, what are your top 3 tips for taking the first step towards controlling your finances? For others, if you could share for others.
Yeah. So I think, you know, my first thing is that when your business, when you start off, it's like your business is is you. So you either don't take any money and you just continue and you start rolling this, doing all the work. And so you have to always make sure that you do pay yourself. Don't work for free, okay? Because it very quickly kills your spirit. And at some point you might end up bringing in new partners into your business, and then you've kind of set the precedent already. So make sure that you look after yourself as well. That's number one. But at the same time, the flip side of that coin is don't take everything, because I've also seen it where people just, they want to just strip out whatever cash it is that you have that's extra. But you want to make sure that there's enough cash flow and there's enough money for you to grow your business. And that for me in student accommodation is so important. And I had to learn, and it took me a very long time to convince and train up and, I don't know, brainwash my partners into the same thinking. Because the problem is that with student accommodation, your cash flow is so seasonal. It's in December, January, there's no income. The bursaries and things, they only pay for 10 months, right? So you need to make sure that what is your finances going to be in that time, and how are you, do you have enough money in the account to get you through that 2 months? But then at the same time, it's not just that, because you only get payments in April for the first time for the year. Yes, they backdated from February, but the actual money is only getting into your account in April. So not only do you have to now plan for December and January getting no income, now there's also February and March, and potentially the whole of April as well. So that's another 3 months. And in that 3 months, you're going to start incurring expenses again, because it's water, it's electricity, it's salaries, etc. But things that directly related to the student. So your cash flow planning, and how am I going to get my money? Where is it from? Who's it coming from? When am I getting it? Is really, really critical. And with especially also with students, there's the risk that NSFAS changes their rules in the middle of the year, which they almost always do, and then there's another plan that you need to make. So you have to be really flexible and think out of the box sometimes when it comes to your cash flow and your finances. So, but it's important just to know when are you going to get your money. And then I think the last one really is around understanding not just what is in your bank account, but you want to start from the beginning, positioning, because at some point you're going to need funding to grow your business, right? If you want to scale properly, and I'm not, you can scale with your normal cash flow, but it's not going to get you these doubling up scenarios, right? So if you want to scale up properly, at some point you're going to need to get funding, either from an investor or from the bank, especially. And they're going to look at your financials and they're going to say, but what you're showing here, the picture that you think is really great is not what they are looking for. So important to have your visibility of your actual financials and what it looks like, and how these potential people in the future are seeing it and perceiving what's happening, and is it painting the right picture for you, so that you can plan a little bit further in advance for when you want to start, when you're ready for that growing and the exponential growth and scaling up that your business can get to. And I think that is really the same no matter what business you're in. So those are just my 3 financial tips for entrepreneurs.
No, thanks. There's a lot of value there. And I see I'm going to move into segue into some questions now from the audience. And I see this first question, which is for Rochell. I'm going to pose to you, Rochell, is about funding. How does the CFO Centre go about helping clients facilitate finance when needed? As I find the banks reluctant to assist, especially on businesses where it's either a startup or when they're in growth phase and need funding to enable growth, to take their business forward. So I don't know, maybe some reflections from you on that, Rochell.
You're 100% correct. I think the banks are very risk averse at the moment in order to give your funding. So you've got to tackle, hedge fund avenues, or even if you have in your network people that understand in the same network that might get involved. So Retha currently has a landlord who's looking to actually invest in a business and get more involved. So those might be some of the easier options. But yeah, definitely the funding is for every entrepreneur. It's tricky, and then also to be servicing the money that you get. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's expensive as well. Sorry, I'm gonna jump in there.
Carry on. No,
Is it,
don't.
you know, if as a business, it's expensive to also get those loans and things like that from the banks. There are banks, that institutions that will fund you, but it comes at a premium. It's not your normal home loan rates that you see. You know, it's in the 20% plus, but there is a time and place for it. And as long as you don't take it for too long so that it kills you in the long run, I have done that, where I have used funding like that. Yeah, and it's, as long as it serves a purpose and it will bring you more income 6 months down the line because you took it, it's fine. You know, you can definitely do that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Retha, a question for you. How did you know from the beginning what needed to be done and that it was on an ongoing basis? And like, what's the process involved in this sort of part-time CFO, portfolio CFO? Someone asks, is it once a week, etc.? You know.
Yeah, I think it depends on where you are and how much nonsense you have to sort out. So I thought when I did this initially, I was like, nah, this is like a 2-3 month exercise, and yeah, we'll be done. We'll be on top of it. But I've always been a little bit optimistic when it comes to that. So I, you know, you can't undo 5 years of chaos that you created in 3 months. It's not going to happen. And I clearly wasn't very realistic about that. But a year down the line, I mean, it's definitely all the proper businesses that is operational and functional every single day. Those ones are pretty much under control now, and now it's just kind of closing all the other things. But to get to this point in a year, I mean, for me, it was the 4 days, 1 day a week, which comes to 4 days a month, which is really a very little amount of time if you think about it. And I think if I, you know, if I couldn't have, even if Rochell was there full day every day, I don't have the time to put more, or to you know, for her to be here every day, because she also needs my attention. And it's about your availability. It's about how much you can afford. It's about how much you need to sort out. Yeah, so I definitely think it depends on every business, really.
Good. Then Rochelle, someone's asked an interesting question here. We get these often, but it's just summarized in Rochelle. I heard Rochelle talk about something she did, and I thought my accountant would do that. Help me understand tax decisions and business decisions. I would love to hear the mistaken identity between an accountant, a non-executive director, and a fractional CFO. Maybe you could just highlight some of the key differences. It's a bit of a loaded question, and yeah, maybe you can just, yeah.
So when we first meet with clients, this question often comes up, that the misconception that we're now going to take away their finance department, or we're going to replace the auditor. This is not what we do as the CFO partner that join you. Your accountant and your auditor will always be your auditor. They're going to do your financials, your compilation or independent review, and there's a space for them. Then your in-house bookkeeper, that's the person that's going to always be in your team, processing, helping you with payments, you know, handling the paperwork. That's going to be part of your team on a daily basis. The role that the CFO Centre fills is almost, if you think about it, that person that's sitting with your managers at board level, that's bringing the strategic conversation to the table, with the experience that they've gained through their career. They're operating at that level, asking the tough questions, looking further ahead. So we have complementary, I think, services between a bookkeeper, accountant. We're not replacing any of them, and we definitely don't step on each other's toes, if that will help you answer.
Good. Thank you. Retha, would it be fair to say that this partnership has helped bring back some enjoyment? You used the word fun a few times for you as an entrepreneur.
Definitely. Number one, I sleep more. I drink a lot of less wine at night. So definitely it did. And you stress a lot less, because you know, like Rochell was saying earlier, one of the things was, okay, well, I've got money in my account, but is it money that is my money? Or is it, whose money is it? I don't know. So now I'm too scared to spend any kind of, on anything. I'm too scared to do anything because I don't know if it's my money or not. And now just being able to know, okay, fine, that R5 in the account, okay, that's great. I can have a team social with that and I'll be fine. So, or I can pay it over as dividends or whatever the case may be, and just know that we'll be fine, we'll be okay. We have enough money in the account, and there's so much power in that.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else here. There's a good question for you, Retha. Do you think your business is worth more now if, after involvement of a CFO, if you were to sell?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, how do I even pitch a number to anybody that's going to do a valuation if I don't have the history or the projections in the future? It's like, okay, well, great. The only thing they look at is like, how much money did you make this year? But they, so being able to kind of paint a picture of a history, a growth pattern. We actually looked at that yesterday. I was like, oh, it feels like I'm going up this mountain. Am I even making progress? What are people going to see if they? And then Rochelle's like, calm down, just look at this. Can you see these different years? Can you see this is what they're going to see are these big numbers, and it's all trending like amazingly positive. And I was like, okay, cool, fine, I can calm down. So, and just by virtue of being able to paint that picture, that already gives your business a boost and in terms of the valuation of it.
Excellent. Great. So I think we've covered most of these questions and our time is kind of moving on. So I'm going to thank you, ladies, for your participation. I think it was really amazing. Good to hear your story, Retha. Thanks for supporting Rochell. And, just as a wrap up from me, a big thank you to all of you for coming in and listening today. And I certainly took some great nuggets away, which I'm going to share with you, and hopefully you've got some of your own. And then we'll wrap up. So for me, it's, when you're feeling overwhelmed or vulnerable, don't try go it alone. Reach out for help, as you saw Retha did, and it was a good story towards the end. We do need to have that self-awareness, though, that reflection, humility, and courage to actually ask for help, because I have seen a lot of people go it alone, and the story is different. So yeah, it takes different and varied skills to deliver our desired outcomes as businesses grow and become successful. So don't be afraid to share the load. Sound financial leadership will always be part of the success journey for any business, small or large. Passion and passionate people drive projects in business, not money alone. And you can see that from Retha. I've seen quite a few comments popping up here. Retha, I love your passion. I love this, I love to see the energy. And I think that's the catchy piece about entrepreneurs, which is so evident. So well done, Retha. We can see that. It makes a difference. It's not just about money. Then from Rochelle's side, this foundational platform, she was talking about systems, habits, rhythms. don't discount those. They build your foundation to kind of take it to the next layers. Very important. Cash flow was mentioned by both people, and cash flow planning. Important to see that, and important for entrepreneur to know they shouldn't take everything out the business. They need to leave something inside for that growth, to stimulate the growth. So good reflections there. And then a good financial track record, to have up-to-date financial statements on which to make decisions, annual as well as monthly. Someone asked a question about banks. I've found that very important with banks. They like to see up-to-date, accurate financial information that reflects the business and what's going on in the business. If you've got that information and it's regular, and even if you don't have a long track record, it will hold you in good stead, and very good projections for the future. It's very difficult to do those and get those right if your assumptions are incorrect. So that's where CFOs can support better decision making. So that's it from me. Before you go, there's a little survey that's going to pop up. I think it's as you shut your screen down, a little survey will pop up. Please answer the survey. We'd like to make these as useful, as beneficial for people in future series. So please do that for us. And then otherwise, thanks again to our panelists for your time, and to all of you, I say goodbye. Thank you.